Looks like we're all set to go now. This is a regular monthly meeting of the Princeton Historic Preservation Commission being held in person on Tuesday, April 28th at 5 p.m. in the main building of the Princeton Municipal Building at 400 Witherspoon Street. Pursuant to Section 13 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of the time and place of this meeting has been noticed by transmitting a copy of the agenda to the Princeton Packet, Town Topics, the Times of Trenton, and by filing a copy with the Clerk of Princeton, posting on the municipal website, and posting on the official bulletin board here at 400 Witherspoon Street. If we could have roll call, please. Is it feedback? I hear ringing. Do you? No? Okay, just me.
Ms. Satterfield is absent. Mr. Shatskin?
Here.
Ms. Howard?
Here.
Ms. Capizzoli?
Here.
Ms. Friedman?
Yes.
Ms. Kroll?
Here.
Ms. Kozevnikova is absent. Chair Scher.
I'm here.
We have quorum.
Very good. Let's get started. First announcement is our counsel, Lisa Maddox, is not here. She's running a little bit late. So we're going to try and do some business that doesn't necessarily require our attorney. So we'll start with any announcements that Sarah has.
Yes. There's a new public law for historic preservation commissions that they have to attend trainings, and also keeping in mind that we are in the process of trying to reinstate our CLG status. The History and Historic Preservation Conference is coming up on June 17th and 18th, and the early registration discount ends May 1st. So if you're interested, please register. Let me know if you're going. I am obviously going, and it should be a good time.
And as we sometimes do, if it's a little bit out of town, like this one is in Morristown, we'll probably try to get together carpooling or logistical arrangements to help everybody. Sarah, do you have anything else? Are we allowed to
Not for
approve?
announcements, no.
Yeah. Do we allowed to do minutes without Lisa, or does Lisa have to be here?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, why don't we do this? We have a concept review, which does not require our attorney to be here. So why don't we push that to the front, and then we'll go in order after that. So the concept review is Alexander Hall,
Mr.
Princeton
Chairman,
Theological Seminary.
with apologies as you start, our architects are on their way over. They were prepping down the street, so they'll be here probably in about 5 minutes as they come up Witherspoon.
Okay, then, that makes sense. You guys were later in the agenda. You probably were counting on that. Staff report?
We'll do a staff report. In speaking with Ms. Kroll, she requested to be added to two subcommittees.
Oh, right, yes, I think you did that when
Yes, guys.
So that was the master plan and the education, communications, and website subcommittee, is that correct?
Yes, I think so, yes.
Is
So
that
I think we just have to say that on the record to add her to those.
right? Do we have, does that push us over the number on any of those? The number that they can meet with without issue?
Education, no, I'd have to double check the master plan. I think they're both only 2 members currently.
Okay. All right, so if there's any issue with it, you'll bring that up. Otherwise, do we need a motion for this, or just, I don't think we did motions before. I think this is just now.
Yeah, it's internal.
Congratulations, you're a member of those committees.
Thank you. We'll be happy to participate and help.
Great, we've had a lot of changes this year. Our committees are very robust, and we're doing a lot of things, and I'm excited, and new members on some of the committees, great. Anything from any members that they would like to bring up at this time? All right, we're going to go ahead and approve the minutes that were included in the packet from last time. As we normally do, we usually open it up. Does anyone have any corrections, changes?
I gave some typos and corrections to Ian. Seems fine.
So the only thing I asked Ian for this time was to change wherever we say home to house. And that's something from my real estate background. A house is the structure. Structures are what we review. Home is what you make of a structure once you start living there. And it's a minor thing, but it looks like we need things to talk about, so there you go. All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for March of 2026.
Second is Charlotte.
Roll call. Mr. Shatskin?
Yes.
Ms. Howard? You have to recuse yourself. Ms. Capizoli?
Yes.
Ms. Friedman?
Yes.
Ms. Kroll, I think you're also a recusal. Chair Scher?
Yes.
Okay. They are passed.
I want to take a moment and thank the members of the commission, Sarah, and the two past staff members, Christine Lewandowski and Elizabeth Kim, for what yesterday was a very nice event, as I understand it. It's an effort that came from this commission to recognize Elric Endersby with a tree planting and a plaque that talks about the contributions he made to the community, to the Historic Preservation Commission, and it's at the site of the Historical Society of Princeton out on Quaker Road, where Elric did an awful lot of work, and if you read his background, that's where he started volunteering and got this career and background and body of knowledge developed that he became such a resource to us all. And I was unable to attend yesterday, but from the family members I talked to yesterday and from the photographs I saw, it was a very nice event, and I thank everybody for what they did. This was funded from individual commission members and I guess some other volunteers. I'm not sure where all the money came from, just commission. So it was very nice. Frida, do you have anything you would want to add to that, or anybody have anything they want to add? You're all leaving me out here with nothing to talk.
I just wanted to add that there's an internship now that's being funded by Elric's family. So at the Historical Society of Princeton, I believe they'll be choosing their first intern, but it's the Elric Endersby Memorial Scholarship for internship at Historical Society of Princeton.
I'll just note on the staff side, this is Derek Bridger's last week. He's retiring after, I want to say, 28 years, something like that. So, sad to see him go, but happy trails.
So Derek has been the zoning officer for Princeton. And before that, for Princeton Consolidated, and before that, Princeton Borough. You're saying for 28 years? Wow. Okay. Well, if Derek sees this, congratulations on your retirement. I have a question for Ian. So who is replacing Derek as the zoning officer?
So I think they still have to do the formal handoff, but it'll be Taylor Gribben, who's our current assistant zoning officer. And then I believe that posting has gone out for the assistant, so they're wrapping that up. But yeah, Taylor should be taking over this week, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
For members of the public that don't know it, the Historic Preservation Commission works with both the Planning Board and the Zoning Board, and often we're asked for input. We sometimes attend their meetings to tell what we learned during testimony in our meetings, to tell what our vote was, and to help move the process along. Sometimes we write letters of endorsement when we see a project that's really useful or beneficial, and especially if there's still some question from a zoning or planning point of view, that we can kind of say the Historic Preservation Commission is behind this project, endorses this project. So that's kind of our working relationship. Julie has been the person who's attended the most of those meetings, if you want to say anything more.
About the zoning board meetings? Yeah, that we just work hand in hand with them, and about 60 to 70% of our applications end up going to the zoning board. And so we have a meaningful collaboration there, and they are always interested in our assessment. So we're always conscious of trying to be clear and straightforward with our understanding of an application. So.
Recess.
I'll give a brief update on the website education subcommittee.
Roger or Charlotte, do you want to give a little report on the progress we've been making with our Committee on Education and Awareness, or whatever we call it?
We've met with Craig Dinwiddie, the communications person for the municipality, and we're just moving ahead with basically a monthly post, either on the weekly municipal website, municipal newsletter, and we're looking for other possibilities for communication, like talking head videos, bringing video to some of the historic sites in town. It's a work in progress, but we're moving forward. We've drafted a piece about Mikey Sherrill moving into Drumthwacket, focusing on the building and the grounds itself, which have quite an extensive history. And that's also in progress, and we hope to get that published in various media. That's about it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, at least we could, in anticipation of our architect being here in about a minute, if we could, if it's okay to start plugging our things in and getting
Please.
It was just, I mean, you know, his wealth was just on a scale unlike anything, you know, there were wealthy people, but I have to find the quote, because I think about it all the time. Because, I mean, you know all the things that he did. He built, well, you know, Lower Pine is still there. But he also built Upper Pine, which went up to heaven. I remember which one was which. But all of the White City, do you know what it is? Over by the university. It's just off of, it's between Prospect and just, and the rip and Faculty Road, all of those houses. He built all of that. He built, it was called White City because it was all originally white stucco and dark. I hate the fact that nothing to do with it. But he built all of White City. And then he also funded most of the college property. And he wrote a check to the university to cover all of those until he died, I think. He was, so he moved here. But he's the one who did all of the big changes. So he graduated from Princeton, John Parker from Oregon School, yeah. But he built the wings, he built all the outbuildings, he was this great angler. That's why everything's half timber, that he built. And, I mean, he had a zoo, that's a big zoo, because the zoo is so much fun. I can't remember, I mean, there were definitely.
Printed copies.
He had, you know, the terraces, the gardens. But he also had a zoo. And this one part was I can just sneak peek at it, but I think the article is called Princeton Grandees, which that Nat wrote. And I think that's where I read the book about it. So, and I can't remember the details of the zoo, but there's at least some. That's great.
Princeton hotspot.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at it, but it's true. I was registered, I think she would be
Excuse us, I'm sorry. Just set me up here.
Yeah, you have to.
Chairman. Thank you for your patience, and
Oh,
happy to begin. I don't want to presume, but we are assembled here, and obviously we have materials up on the screen now.
well, thank you very much. And you helped us fill time. So this is a concept review, so we're not going to swear people in, but we'd love to know who you have with you.
Absolutely. Mr. Chairman, thank you so much. Again, Ryan Kennedy from Stevens and Lee here for the applicant, Princeton Theological Seminary. As always, we are so appreciative of you and your team, and Sarah in particular, with allowing us and encouraging people to do concept reviews like that. We're excited to show what we're looking to do as this project comes together, and ultimately bring back to this board as it solidifies. To my left, your right, we'll hear first from Ann Stewart, the Executive Vice President from the seminary, and after she says a few words of welcome, we'll transition to our presentation with our architecture team. So Ann, if you could, I'll pass the microphone over to you.
Thank you. Thank you again for the time this evening. As Ryan shared, I'm Ann Stewart. I serve as the Executive Vice President at Princeton Theological Seminary, and we are so grateful for your time this evening and pleased to bring this project for concept review. Alexander Hall, as you will hear, is the original building of Princeton Seminary and an important part of our history as well as the historic fabric of the Mercer Hill Historic District. Our priorities for this project include restoring its tasteful prominence as the front door of the seminary as it was at the very beginning, with improvements to the landscape and walkways to lead pedestrians to the building and to improve accessibility, as well as a full exterior restoration of the building to steward it for the next generation. We take the historic preservation of this building very seriously, and for that reason, after a robust selection process, have engaged the firm of Bayer Blinder Bell as architects. This firm, based in New York, has extensive experience with historic preservation, including in campus environments, and has worked on other buildings designed by John McComb. We're pleased to have two partners from Bayer Blinder Bell here with us this evening. Carmen Menical is a partner with Bayer Blinder Bell, and also Nate Rogers, who is a partner and director of historic preservation for the firm, and he will be presenting the project on behalf of the seminary this evening. So I'll just say a few words about his background. Mr. Rogers holds the Master of Architecture and Master of Science in Historic Preservation from the University of Pennsylvania, and is also an adjunct faculty member at Penn's Weitzman School of Design, where he teaches a graduate seminar on design in historic settings. As you will see, we are giving quite a bit of thought to the landscape improvements to the site, and the seminary has also engaged RKLA Landscape Architect Studio as part of the design team. This firm also was selected for its experience in designing sensitive landscape in historic settings and with religious institutions. So we welcome your feedback that we can incorporate into our planning process, and with that, I will turn it over to Nate Rogers to present the project.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I think you can hear me okay. We're very grateful for this time. I'll dive right into it. I know we're tight on time, and we really appreciate your patience this evening. If it works for you all, we'll get through the presentation as expeditiously as possible to really maximize time for discussion, if that seems okay. So just a brief orientation, you all, you know where we are here in the project. We're on the southern edge of the Mercer Hill Historic District, which the formation of that district dates from 1985 and was created in order to protect the integrity and significance of this wonderful neighborhood, which is comprised of many mid-19th century homes, as well as portions of the university and seminary campuses. Zooming in a bit further, here's the building on the east side of Mercer Street, set about 200 feet back from the right-of-way. We will note that the rear of the building is visible from Alexander Street through a kind of narrow view corridor just south of Dickinson Street, and there's several other buildings kind of in the view when you're seeing the back of the building there. Existing conditions, the front and the back of the building here. Just to make things simple, we're going to call the front of the building north. We know that's not entirely accurate, but it's going to work for us today. And therefore, the rear of the building we'll call the south elevation. And so you get a sense of that here, both the Mercer Street facade and also the kind of quad or rear-facing facade. A little bit more context panoramically. Here's the view from Mercer on the top half of the screen. You notice not just the building, but a number of mature trees in the foreground and some of the other seminary buildings. And then the images at the bottom here, particularly I'll draw your attention to the center image, which is the main vehicular entrance to the campus, just sort of project west of our building here, flanked by 2 site walls, which include some engraved stone lettering that name the seminary. And then directly across the street from our site, of course, is the seminary's Wright Library, which is that lower right image. Here's the Sanborn map from 1906 of this precinct, which I think helps to illustrate, really change over time, the surrounding historical context and some of the other prominent historical buildings that are adjacent to ours. We'll go very high level with the research because that could be an hour of itself, and we know we want to get to the proposal. But this is a really significant building, and that is something that is very important to us. It was built in 1915 as the seminary's first building. It was really the all-in-one building. Every function of the seminary happened in this building when it was first constructed before they added other buildings on the campus. Designed by John McComb Jr., an architect who maybe not well known today, but very prominent in the federal period, particularly in New Jersey and New York. The building itself was clearly inspired by the university's Nassau Hall, by which I'm referring to Nassau Hall prior to the 1850s changes by John Notman, which completely changed that building. So Alexander Hall is a regionally and nationally significant building. In addition to being located in the Mercer Hill Historic District, it's also listed as a contributing structure in both the national and state register districts. A few more words about McComb himself, New York-based, but he had Princeton connections. He's probably best known today as the architect of New York City Hall, which he worked on with Joseph-Francois Magin in 1803. And also just prior to Alexander Hall, he actually designed what is the oldest building on the Rutgers campus, which then was Queens College. And we've been very, very lucky to be able to dig through the seminary's archives to really develop a good understanding of the evolution of the site and the building over time. There's photos going back to the 1860s, and then we have a pair of lithographs of the building that go back to the 1840s, in fact. So we've really been able to develop an understanding of the site's morphology. Again, this is very high level about the research, but here's the site on the left-hand side of the image, what it might look like at the time of the building construction compared to the conditions of the site today. One thing we'll point out in particular is the elliptical path in front of the building, as well as an on-axis path. You see those in orange. They were removed by the 1860s, and then the on-axis was removed by the 1890s. There were also a pair of symmetrical curb cuts originally. The northeast one was removed by around 1910. And then something else that was fascinating in the research was that by the 1930s, Alexander Hall had been entirely ringed with asphalt. You know, this corresponds with the introduction of cars on the campus and the feeling that you should be able to drive and park anywhere at any time. And so really the building, which, you know, had a lot of greenery around it, then became completely kind of embedded in the asphalt. Looking at the morphology of the building itself, we'll just note that the present roof, the 4 chimneys on the building today, and the tower and cupola all date from a 1913 rebuild, really the very top section of the building, after a major fire that same year. The side vestibules on the west and east elevations were added in the 1880s, and the fire escapes were added in the 1890s. So this is a building that has had some changes and alterations over time. The porticos that are on the south elevation you see there date from the 1960s, and they replaced earlier vestibules that probably went back to the 1890s. I'll touch on the kind of restoration scope, and then we'll talk about the other alterations, and then end with the landscape. We're being very meticulous about the restoration of this building. We've done a very comprehensive conditions assessment, not just from the ground, but from lifts, to really get an up-close look at the building. The sandstone masonry walls are in good condition overall. They'll require some limited repairs. The ribbon mortar pointing dates from a 1990s campaign and is still in good condition, so that's just going to require some spot repointing. A lot of the masonry scope is really to address the cracks and spalls at the brownstone window surrounds, where there's some deterioration there, as well as the string courses. And there were some previous replacements of the brownstone with precast Those will also be addressed and in some cases retinted with a mineral coating because they've discolored over time, as precast tends to do. We are proposing to remove the fire escapes on the building. They serve no code or life safety purpose anymore. The ladders were removed a long time ago. And we'd like to return this facade to Macomb's original vision as much as possible, acknowledging that the cupola and the tower do date from 1913. A little more on the roof and the chimneys and the cupola. That slate roof, again, dates to the 1913 renovation. It's well beyond service life, so the slate would be entirely replaced, completely in kind, colored, grade, and texture to match with grade S1, which is the highest quality slate. The chimneys were rebuilt in 1913. They were stuccoed then. They will need complete rebuilding because of water damage, but they would be reconstructed and restored in kind. The cupola looks worse than it is. It really just needs surface prep and painting. And then we want to say a word about the cornices and the gutters. So there's wood cornices with integrated copper gutters. The cornices are in fair condition with some areas of wood rot. The gutters themselves are in poor condition and beyond service life, so those would be replaced. We're looking at this two ways. We could meet the kind of baseline plumbing code of 5 inches of rain per hour, and that would require we raise the copper liner by about 1 inch. It would be essentially invisible, that change, from the street elevation. But storms are, as we all know, becoming more severe. We're looking at the 100-year storm standard, which is about 9.3 hours of rainfall, 9.3 inches of rainfall per hour. Were we to meet that standard, that would require rebuilding the gutter and cornice line. We think that can be done in a very sensitive and appropriate way, where the profile essentially matches the historic and existing conditions, but it would mean more replacement of the historic material than we would do with the 5 inch per hour. So that's something we could discuss when we get to the discussion point. Windows, which of course are very important to a historic building. The windows in this building are traditional double-hung wood windows, weight and rope balanced, single pane glazing, so they still have the single pane glazing. Different components of these windows date from different eras. There are no exterior storm windows on the building today. There are some interior storm windows. Condition of the windows is quite poor overall. We note that about 1/4 of the windows have replaced sashes, replaced muntins. 3/4 of the glass lights are modern float glass. So there's already been a lot of change and replacement on these windows. The scope that we are proposing is to combine frame restoration with sash replacement. So fully custom sash replacements matching dimensions, profiles. The only change would be going from single glazing to double glazing. These would still be weight and chain balanced, and then the frame itself gets full restoration. So at the end of the day, it looks essentially like the original. But we believe is the most appropriate approach given the condition of the windows, which you get a little bit more of a close-up here in terms of what that is, and also the need for what we would consider reasonable energy efficiency on the building. Now we'll get into the alterations. The goal here is very much to intervene in a way that's appropriate and compatible to the building and the district, and really maintain the historic character of this extraordinary place. There's an opportunity, as Ann said, to bring more vibrancy to this building as the front door to the campus. We're proposing to regrade the entry so that the front door could be universally accessible. It is not accessible today. And on the rear, which we'll come back to in the landscape section, we're proposing a terrace that we think enhances the relationship between the building and the quad. You can see in the original Macomb plan in the upper left there that the space labeled the refectory becomes our campus living room. And so that'll have a very nice relationship with the terrace that we're proposing outside. And we'll explain some of those changes. First, just kind of looking at the building itself in terms of what's proposed. I mentioned removing the fire escapes. We'd remove non-original entry railings at the front door. The regrading does mean that the stoop goes away, but we're creating a building that's universally accessible. There's a 1990s concrete ramp at the end of the building, which we're looking into potentially removing. It's actually too steep for code anyway. It's not very attractive, but it is an additional cost, so we're weighing and balancing that. On the south elevation, we would regrade for the terrace. Here we're cutting through the terrace. We're going to show you the terrace later, but this is to help you understand the changes at the building itself. So the 1960s porticos would be reconstructed. They would look essentially the same, but some subtle changes to get everything to the same floor level, because there's some steps and stoops here. You'll note the dropping of the sills for the 5 windows on the first floor down to the level of the terrace, and then 2 of those windows would become doors. We actually feel this produces a nice relationship with the arched windows that you see on the second floor, that there's a nice kind of hierarchy and proportion between our modified windows there on the first floor in the center and the existing to remain arched windows on the second floor. We'll get into the terrace more, but there'll be 2 sets of stairs up to the terrace, which will align with those porticos in plan. On the east and west sides, we've already mentioned the fire escape removals and the concrete ramp. And then this is sort of the third and final chapter, which is site and landscape. The goals here are to improve accessibility, pedestrian safety with crosswalks, sidewalk widths, and lighting, and really create a welcoming front door to the seminary. Clear entrances for visitors, good wayfinding, but also to really honor the historic character of the building with sympathetic materiality and plantings. There's 3 components which we'll dig into here. There's the vehicular and pedestrian campus entrance, which is in blue on this diagram. There's the front lawn and entrance to the building itself, which is in yellow. And then there's the quad-facing intervention of the terrace in pink, which again is not visible from Mercer Street. So just looking at the site and landscape overall, at the front of the building, you can see existing and proposed. You can see we're going to look at the improvements at Mercer Street in the crosswalk, creating an arced path that recalls the idea of the original elliptical path, but also avoids all of the existing mature trees. We're keeping all the existing trees and adding a few new ones. And then we'll zoom in the larger red box there, which is closer to the building. So just starting at the street first, you can see how we're proposing to replace 1 crosswalk with 2 crosswalks, maintain the existing light and signaling. The existing road is about 20 feet wide with 1 sidewalk. This would be a 15-foot wide road with 2 sidewalks. There's an idea in the future to make this one way. That's part of a larger traffic study, which we're not going to get into today. We kind of want to talk about the aesthetics first. But you can see how we're thinking of a gateway that is more befitting of the seminary, and certainly there's a lot of good precedents at the university that we can draw on here. So looking at what that looks like in elevation, as well as 3 dimensions that we can complement the stone of the existing building, Alexander Hall, create 2 arched pedestrian entries that flank the vehicular entrance there. I'll just keep us moving here. Then getting closer to the building, again, comparing existing and proposed. The existing roadway in front of the building is almost 20 feet. We are reducing that down to about 12.5 feet with significant plant bed and lawn against the building, to make sure there's a nice soft relationship between the building and the landscape as we change some of the grading. We're really discouraging vehicles from driving in front of the building, so this becomes more of a pedestrian precinct here that is well connected with these pedestrian pathways. And again, removing the steps on the front, making that accessible. There's a sort of a small plaza in a sense in front of the building, which is a place to gather. You'll see on the next page a kind of zoom in of that plan with some materiality, bluestone pavers in the plaza area flanked by pervious pavers to the left and right, and then low seat walls and benches of sandstone that complement the existing building. Site lighting, really, making sure we have good light on the pedestrian pathways, but we're not, doing things that increase light pollution beyond what's necessary for safety, using the standard so-called Princeton bollard that matches the lampposts that are already on the campus. And then the third and final piece of the landscape here is the terrace. So again, reminding everyone, this is visible from Alexander Street, but quite a distance, 630 feet. So that helps kind of provide some context. But we've thought about the design of this independent of whether it's visible or whether it's in the district. This is still a very important component to the building. And while there's no indication that Macomb imagined a terrace here, that's obviously not the standard, right? Buildings are allowed to change over time. And so the question is whether this could be considered an appropriate architectural treatment in this kind of context. So of course we were thinking about other federal style architectural examples. Here are 3. And of course, they were the inheritors of these Palladian ideas about bilateral symmetry, that these composed buildings often had a second front that was on the rear facade, or it was a garden facade, a landscape facade. And they often had terraces. And we'll say sometimes in the case of Monticello, right, that those garden elevations are almost become more and more prominent than the front door. So we think this is to add a terrace on this building is very appropriate. If it's all in the details, of course. Here you see the plans, existing and proposed, existing on the top and the proposed down below. So in place of that vehicular drive, which, we had that ring of asphalt around the building, this changes into what you see here, which is the terrace, which is very sensitively planned, 2 stairways that go up, they align with the porticos, an accessible route that's sort of planned east. You can see that coming around the corner there. And we're really not encroaching too much further in the quad compared to the roadway today. There's a mature, beautiful tree, which we really don't want to impact, to the south of us here in the plan. And this is what that might look like in 3 dimensions and also in elevation. So there's a low planter wall in front of the terrace itself that allows us to kind of negotiate this elevation change. We want to really soften the way this looks in the landscape. The materiality would be sandstone with bluestone walking surfaces. So we think will be a very harmonious element on the elevation of this building. And here, 2 more views. So you get a sense of the accessible route at the bottom right image there, which is a just very natural extension of the language of the terrace. And very lastly, just raising the issue that, of course, stormwater and green infrastructure is a component that we have to consider, and we're thinking about that in terms of the historic landscape. So we're going to do as much as we can in terms of maybe permeable asphalt, open joint pavers. It still may be the case that we need to consider rain gardens, so we're thinking about how to site those as sensitively as possible, understanding that pipe inverts and topography will set the parameters for those things. So, okay, how do we do? Not bad, 20 minutes, not 15. But we welcome your feedback and questions. We're very excited to present this project. And thrilled to be here today. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is that?
Yep, Mr. Chairman, that's the presentation.
Okay.
We're excited to, again, thank the initial feedback we got from your professional, and also want to thank the rest of the Princeton planning staff. Our expectation is this project will return here as a full HPC application, but based on our discussions with the planning staff, we think it could be a site plan waiver, so that we currently expect that your board would be the board of jurisdiction for the application. But we're here to take notes and find out what we can do as we finalize the plan. So thank you so much.
Great. Comments? Julie?
I have to say, this is the best concept review presentation I've ever seen. Usually it's like someone's holding up a napkin and they're like, well, maybe we'll do this. And, so this is very thorough and much more than we're used to. But I do think this is very well thought out. I mean, obviously, accessibility has been a huge factor in this decision. It's a lot of work, but it seems like a wonderful benefit for a number of people in the community, and a much more welcoming entrance. Right now, yeah, I see cars sometimes like turn on there. Looks a little odd. So having it more pedestrian and less auto-focused seems like a great idea. I also think that looks like the windows are not in good shape. Obviously, they're not original because, well, it's been a while. So there's been multiple things happening. So to have it uniform seems like a positive step forward. Looks like there's maintenance issues that, need to be dealt with. So anyway, I think it's fantastic.
Anybody else? Frida?
Could you clarify the gutters?
Sure, happy to. Let me jump back to that slide.
So I think you said if you were to construct it to stand 100-year storm, it would look one way, right? So if you could clarify that, because that was
Sure,
a little
happy to.
fast.
So the current plumbing code in effect right now establishes a capacity that would meet a 5 inches per hour, torrential downpour. The 100-year storm is just over 9 inches per hour. If we were to meet the 5-inch per hour standard, the change would be very minimal, and we could retain more of the existing wood. If we were to go to let's call it the 9-inch standard, we'll have to remove and replace more of the historic fabric. We do believe that we can come up with some very clever ways to make sure that the profile itself doesn't change. So obviously there's a distinction between the historic fabric and then the historic appearance. So we feel we can still maintain the historic appearance even if more fabric has to be replaced. But we have to repitch the gutters and look at downspouts. It basically
So it sounds like you're leaning towards the 9-inch version?
Well, we want to future-proof this building for the next 100 years.
Yeah, makes sense.
So it's something we're actively considering, and it's something we'd ask if that could be an acceptable trade-off to prepare this building for the future.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for your question.
Any comments from this side of the room?
Applause.
For those of you who didn't hear Charlotte's compliment, she said applause. What I'd like to add is that I really appreciate how on the north side, that's the side facing Mercer Street, the access with the driveway that you want to put back in, which I think will be lovely. I like that it's pulled back from the building. I always worry about drainage and what landscape will do when it gets too close to a building, and it seems like you've already well thought of that, of course. But I wanted to let our fellow commission members know a little bit about why that's such a good idea, so that's appreciated. And I made no notes. There's just nothing that I wanted to say, oh, this kind of needs explaining. So good. So this is a concept review, but do we still ask for public input if there's anyone in the audience? Or is that more when we have a hearing? I'm not quite sure what that...
We'd certainly, if the board's so inclined, we'd love to hear, get as much feedback as we can.
Yeah, I just don't ever want to miss that step. So is there anyone from the audience that has... I see no hands. Any other specific questions from your group?
I don't think so.
Sarah, do you have some comments you want to?
I just drafted a brief memo basically saying that as it is currently proposed, it appears appropriate. It seems to adhere to the Secretary of the Interior standards. And it's just really going to come down to the details and what gets the final submission. It should be interesting and fun, hopefully.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, then. Thank you all very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We look
Thank you.
forward to your return.
Yes. Appreciate your time.
All right. We'll welcome Lisa up to the panel here.
I think because they're raising the grade, so I think also in terms of like drainage and keeping the building, like it looks like they've had some water problems, especially if you look at the existing windows. Oh, yeah, yeah. That's true, but at the same time, if you. It's a minor yeah. I do know, like, at our Prince and Friends meeting, now we have these sidewalks that go up to the porch, and so our
I'll also just add that Ms. Kozevnikova has joined us for a role, for the record.
like we have 3 people. When you so that you
So many applications. Right now, it sounds terrible for anyone with a wheelchair. Okay, so we just have them put something on the record, and then you can move on to the other applications. Then you go to the third one. New York City. You didn't know? Okay. What did you hear from your attorney for the, yeah, the Dorothea and the Lane Associates, their association. Is their attorney. Yeah, I know. You can move on to your applications. Okay, so it's Mr. Really good. Yep, Spatching. Okay. I mean, yeah. I know. What's that? Mr. Spadaccini, did you want to address the board? I don't think that they can move around all the, they just
I
want
don't
to hear.
care if they move
I
us
just want to
around.
give you an opportunity to address the board.
I appreciate that. So first and foremost, let me apologize for this interruption from your agenda. Dino Spadaccini, I am the president of Dorothea Van Dyke McLean Association. I'm also acting as counsel for them this evening. We are a corporation, so we do need a counsel to appear before you, as you know. Unfortunately, I have to be in Ewing Township by 6:30 for a council meeting there, and I can assure you my value here is not much with our architects and our team that we have here, but what I would like to express to the board and hope that you will grant our request is that we are happy to proceed without an attorney for this application. We will proceed and, you know, with prejudice, so it's not as if I can come back and say later, oh my gosh, we didn't have an attorney when we were present or something like that. But we're happy to proceed before you with the balance of our team, like I said, that is much more critical to this than I am here this evening. But I wanted to state that, and part of this is, as you may or may not have seen in the documents, and I'm not sure what was submitted, but part of this is a matching grant with New Jersey Historic Trust that we're very excited about refurbishing the exterior of our building, which is the trustees, you know, we take very seriously. It's a large grant. We're putting a lot of our own money up for that. And due to the seasonal activities of our organization, we're ready to proceed as soon as we receive your blessing, pull permits and the like. And summer is the best time for us to proceed because it's the least amount of activities at the house. So delaying us by 30 days because of me, I would have gotten someone to cover, it would really, you know, harm us and through no fault of yours but my own. So I kindly request that you grant this request and apologize for disrupting your proceedings. That said, you don't have to reschedule the deck as long as you allow them to move forward. Sorry, guys, you'll have to wait until the end, but they'll be happy to do so and provide the presentation. And I hope that that's acceptable to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's up to you. I mean, so the question is, you know, whether or not, I guess, the applicant must have an attorney represented. I mean, by law, you are supposed to, but this is, you know, this is not a zoning board. I know before
No.
a zoning board and before a court, you must have.
Correct.
We don't have any rules specifically in our the HPC ordinance on this. So I guess I would say that if the commission is so inclined, it can move forward on the application. You know.
Absolutely. And again, I'll make the analogy of I'm waiving my Miranda rights. I'm good. So we would really appreciate it. Again, it would help us. It would not only help us, we would be able to meet our schedule without disrupting the programming that we do at the house and the like by commencing our construction next month is what the goal is. So again, I'm here asking, and I'd appreciate your consideration in that matter.
All right, so then if I
So
understand correctly. He
You can, right,
needs
so,
to move, so we might as well put them back in the agenda where they were.
right, so you have to leave now anyway, so
I
it doesn't
do.
really help to do anything, yeah, so they'll continue with the,
So
I think
would
the idea
you
is
be
to-
able to make that decision before I leave, whether you'll proceed with us at least, or?
yeah, I think so, it's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
That-
I mean, so I think, I mean, I could say, you know, my thought is that it's up to the commission, but they can proceed with hearing the application at the applicant's risk.
Absolutely. Again, we're the ones saying we're okay without counsel. Okay? I really appreciate it, everyone. And again, I apologize for
That's okay.
disrupting everything. Thank you very much.
It won't take long.
All right, getting back to where we should be on the agenda, we're going to quickly do the resolution from the last meeting. It's a formality at this point. And let's see, we just normally name it at this point. It was the application for the trustees of Princeton University related to 144 Mercer Street, the property that we know that was occupied by Professor and Mrs. Gunning. We reviewed the process of the project at the last meeting. I think Sarah told me that there was some additional information that we had requested has been submitted.
Yes, they updated the architectural sheets with the updated window specifications, which they
All right.
presented in the meeting. And there were minor changes to the resolution as I sent them out yesterday.
And I was just going to indicate that there were 3 requested revisions from the applicant, which, upon consultation, we didn't think were major, but we will absolutely address them. The first one was to number 2 of the resolution, that where it indicated originally the property is improved with a 2.5-story wood frame, it would be changed to, corrected to say just 2-story wood frame. The second change was number 4. The last sentence says the dwelling's elevation. It should say the dwelling's finished floor elevation. And the last one, number 5, the second to last sentence is just corrected where it says fixing the brick walkway. It should say walkways. So those were the only revisions requested by the applicant. And they're consistent with our review of the notes of your hearing. So
Right, so at this point, do we hold it, or just we say it's done, or?
you could say, you can move, based on, with those changes.
Yep. So based on what we have just been informed, we're ready to move ahead. Does this recall a roll call, or we've already done that last
No.
time?
I think we need a motion.
Do we need a motion? Okay, seeking a motion.
I move to approve the resolution for 144 Mercer Street.
Thank you, Julie. Second from somebody? Charlotte?
As corrected.
As corrected. Yep.
Charlotte, second?
Yep.
We'll do roll call. Mr. Shatskin?
Yes,
Ms. Howard?
Was not here.
Abstain?
No.
Ms. Capizoli?
Yes.
Ms. Friedman?
Yes.
Ms. Kroll, abstain. Ms. Kozevnikova? And Chair Scher.
Yes.
All right,
Thank you,
resolution
everybody.
is passed. Let's get to applications.
All right, resuming. Our first application next, or our next application, first application, is from Crown Castle, and it's the location at 153 Birch Avenue, corner of Birch and Race Streets. And as you all come up to the table, please.
That's 2024.
Am I good to start? I didn't know if there was an opening to that. Good evening.
To swear you in?
Okay. No, this is,
Good evening. Robert Gaudioso with the law firm of Snyder and Snyder on behalf of the applicant.
And I am Lisa Mosey, Manager of Permitting and Utilities for Crown Castle.
Okay, so I'm just going to swear you in. Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Can you state your name one?
Lisa Mosey. The last name is M-O-Z-I.
Great.
Okay. All good? Okay. It's all yours. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you all tonight. For those of you who may not know, Crown Castle is a public utility who builds, designs, operates, maintains telecommunications infrastructure. So we build infrastructure for the major carriers nationwide. We have worked over the past few years with the Township of Princeton, the Historic Preservation Office, Engineering, to thoughtfully deploy small cell infrastructure throughout this community. These installations were designed to address some long-standing coverage and capacity issues that were well known within the jurisdiction. And through that partnership, we have been able to build over 80 of these small cell sites throughout. So we are getting close to the end of our current deployment within Princeton with a few more sites to go. So tonight we'd like to discuss the proposed small cell installation at 153 Birch Avenue. So that's located within the Witherspoon-Jackson Historic District. And this project, this specific location, is proposing a new wooden utility pole 33 feet above grade, which will support a small cell antenna, shrouded cabinet, a disconnect, and a meter, all finished in the matte black to match previously HPO-approved installations throughout Princeton and to minimize visual contrast. Although this would be one of the few poles on the north side of Birch Avenue, as the Historic Preservation Officer notes in the report, Birch Avenue already contains a continuous line of wooden utility poles and equipment, so that establishes a strong visual precedent along this corridor. This pole is not out of place with the established pattern along Birch. So I'm happy to speak to the 4 comments or recommendations that were on the report and answer any questions about this build. I can go through the questions or the comments and speak to those if you'd like. Okay. Sure, okay. First comment from the report: does the project meet the Secretary of the Interior standards for treatment of historic properties? The answer to that is yes, it does. The standard does allow new infrastructure when it retains historic character by avoiding alteration of contributing buildings, uses compatible scale and materials, avoids creating a false historic appearance, and is reversible if removed in the future. So this node does meet all of those principles, does not alter, uses a common wooden utility pole, which is already typical throughout the district, and introduces only a minimal change in the public right-of-way, which could be removed in the future without impact. The second comment is the installation appropriate and compatible with existing structures. Again, yes, as staff noted, the new pole is not out of place among the existing poles that define the Birch streetscape, or Birch Avenue, streetscape. The matte black equipment is meant to reduce visual contrast, and the installation stays within the established utility corridor of the district, so in the right-of-way. Comment number 3, does the installation adversely affect the district's ambiance, character, or relationships of structures to the public way? No, it does not. As mentioned in the staff report, the project retains historic character of the intersection and does not adversely affect the overall ambiance. This installation is in public right-of-way, so no historic property is physically affected. The district's spatial organization, including building relationships and sightlines, remain unchanged. And then finally, is the height visually compatible with other utility poles? And the answer is yes. So the proposed 33-foot height upon completion of the installation aligns with the general scale of the existing poles on Birch, which are between that 35 to 45 foot range. So in summary, it does respect, we believe, the historic character of the district, aligns with Secretary of Interior standards, meets with Princeton's ordinance criteria, and provides some essential modern wireless service while maintaining a thoughtful design. So I appreciate your review, and I'm happy to answer any questions on this particular site.
Thank you very much. Commission members, some questions, comments? Please.
Yeah, good evening. I reviewed this before the last meeting, so and I didn't take photographs of Birch Street, but my recollection is that all the utility poles are on the other side of Birch Street, that they're not utility poles on the side that you're proposing.
There are not many on the north side, but we are not able to attach to the south side, that existing pole line that belongs to PSE&G. All of those poles have equipment on them that is disqualifying equipment, we call it. So they have either a transformer or other mounted equipment that would preclude us from being able to attach to those. So there is no option for us on any of the existing poles.
There is a pole on, well, it's if you stand at the site of your proposed pole and look towards the playing fields, there's a pole right at the edge of the playing fields. Did you look into that as an option?
All the poles within that district have been, or within that area, I should say, have been vetted for viability. Our first choice, our first option is always to use an existing utility pole. The only time we would suggest or request a brand new installation is when there are no other feasible options. I'm not familiar with the exact pole that you're referencing, but I can assure you we've looked at all the poles in the surrounding area, and they are all disqualified for one reason or another. Either they have primary power on them, or they've got, like I said, disqualifying equipment, which we would not be allowed to attach our equipment.
There's a line on top of all those poles. I believe that's Race Street, heading in that direction. And if you look on sheet 4 of 11,
Yeah,
So
I
if you
don't,
went
I
around
don't
the
have the
corner.
printout with me, but,
yeah, if you see on 4 of 11, you can see the pole to the, I guess it would be to the left, and you're referring to the pole on the right, but you can see the lines cut across, and there's a line on top of all those poles, which is what the problem was. So we couldn't attach on the top of that pole, and there's no space below those lines. So if you look at the photograph on the right, pole looking west, so if you looked east, which is around the corner, and then if you looked at the photo looking east as well, in each direction, the line is on top of those poles. If you go to sheet 3 of 11, you could see it as well. There's a line on top of those poles.
yeah, the location that I'm discussing is not on Race Street. It's on, the street is not marked on here. It's the street along the playing fields, along Community Park fields.
Known as the parking lot.
Yeah, I don't think
Well,
that's
it says
actually a
parking
street.
lot, but
I think that's in the park. So that's not in the right of way. I believe that's in the park.
It's at the edge of the park. That's not viable?
Correct.
I have a quick question. Members of 153, is it Birch? Are they aware of this? The owners of the building you referenced?
We have not spoken to the residents
Okay.
as we're in the public right-of-way.
Okay.
So we're trying to understand, and we're at the mercy of having not got it in front of our screens. The parking lot that runs along Community Park that is kind of served by community or public works trucks and things, none of those poles are viable for,
Is that private property?
we believe it's public property.
It's not the public right-of-way, though. So
It's not what? I'm sorry?
it's not in the public right-of-way.
Right, so, but it seems to me that it would be best for the community, from what we look at, if it was on a pole in that location, if it's owned by the municipality as part of the parks or access road, rather than in front of these houses. Would that be correct? Is that what we're looking at?
So the location, the corner that we had selected is not in the front of the property, it's the side of the property on Birch.
But it does affect the streetscape in as much as there are no other utility poles, at least nearby on that side of the street.
Well, they are right across the street, and they are right around the corner in both directions.
There are others on that side of the street, not right directly next to it, but there are others.
Right, I guess perhaps what we're thinking about is it's one more intrusion in, and that there are other intrusions already doesn't make it correct. And it's such a prominent location, right at the corner there. It's, on behalf of that neighborhood and all the things that we're charged with doing, it's kind of our responsibility to ask and double check that there is no other option for it there.
Yeah, we have certainly vetted all of the existing poles in the vicinity, in the public right-of-way. Those are all not viable options,
Right.
unfortunately.
But as we learned a minute ago, the public right-of-way in public, from your attorney, was that maybe those other poles that we're asking about weren't considered?
I'm not familiar with the poles that you're referencing, so I just asked, is that a private property that you're asking on?
It's a municipal park, but I don't know how that
So the
interacts
property
with
would be owned by the municipality?
Right.
Yeah. So I would say that we are a public utility that operate within the public right-of-way.
Mhm.
Respectfully, that's what we're here asking for approval on.
I have a question. So I was wondering, for Sarah, I was wondering if engineering had reviewed this at all, because there is the round for affordable housing proposal for the edge of Community Park and that parking lot there, and I don't know if that maybe interfered with the placement. So anyway, I'm just wondering if there was municipal conflicts.
Yeah, I can confirm it. This was reviewed by engineering, and this is going to be an administrative waiver on that level, and this is a recommendation by us for the approval of the administrative waiver. So, yes, it has been reviewed by engineering, which a lot of this came in before I was here. So, but as based on the notes I reviewed from Elizabeth and the existing application, this seemed to be the most appropriate location per engineering and per the poles in this general area.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Julie. That was the question I was trying to formulate. Other people with questions?
Yeah, the public right-of-way seems to extend north of Birch on Ray Street. There are houses almost immediately to the parking lot at the park. So I wondered about whether any location on that little spur of Ray Street that ends on the parking lot would be possible. Again, it would take it away from the corner. It's about 300 feet, I think, from Birch to the parking lot. And we've done approvals for a couple of those houses right there on the parking lot. I don't know if it's an easement with the town. I don't know the conditions of those houses in terms of their, what property they lie on, but I assume it's private property on a public right-of-way.
So if the pole does need to go in the general location where that cone is shown is there any leeway of moving it back from the corner any?
Yeah, I think, sure.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of doubt right now, at least for me, to vote yes on this. I actually went to the site, but 153 wasn't really marked as 153, so I kind of had to guess. I mean, I don't know, Sarah, if it makes sense to give us some time to make another site visit.
I know that based on Elizabeth's notes, this was submitted initially in 2024 in a batch with a number of other applications
Right.
that were either non-historic district or were existing equipment, and this is the only one that is currently left that is a new pole in a historic district. So I know Elizabeth did take into consideration and recommends that the applicant investigate other viable options in the area closer to the park, other locations along Ray Street. And the final submission I received as the updated documents from engineering with their review and from the applicant was this corner on Birch.
So is this the one you guys were trying to put in front of Triumph? And you moved, or?
No.
No, this one was
No,
always here.
No, this is, no.
All right.
This has always been here. And I would just add that these particular locations are very thoughtfully vetted out with our carriers. They have specific needs to be within a couple hundred feet of a certain location so that from an RF perspective, they're not in conflict with other tower or macro small cell sites. Because when you do move and slide down, it's not as easy as to say, oh, just go around the corner or down the street another block, because now you're interfering with another location. So they're very carefully selected to complement each other and to provide that coverage. So I'll just add that.
Yeah, I think that's precisely why I'd like to make sure, because they're so precisely selected on your client's behalf. We have to work on behalf of the citizens of Princeton, right? So I could not vote yes on this today. I'm happy to take time tomorrow to make sure, but I couldn't give my vote tonight for it, because I need, regardless of whether this is the second or third time it's been submitted, we still have to be sure it's not just a vote. It's you know, once it's there, it's there.
I appreciate that, Frida. Other commission members, do you want to make a comment or decide whether there's a motion we want to put forward, one way or the other?
I have a question about the clock. So if we would delay this,
This one is, we're delaying it more for the administrative waiver, because they are, the administrative waiver of site plan is the Board of Jurisdiction. So they are waiting to work through us first, and have been waiting for scheduling things and other reasons and updates to the plans that were requested from previous submissions. So
if I could
Yeah,
just...
I don't think it's something we could really carry because we're not the board of jurisdiction.
Oh, so we couldn't carry this?
I mean, that's more of a Lisa question. I don't think we can because we're not the board of jurisdiction. We're giving a recommendation.
If I could also just speak to the
Oh, sure.
federal law on this. This is a small wireless facility in the right-of-way, and under the federal law, the shot clock is 90 days on one of these applications, and we're well past that deadline already. I think, as Lisa said, you know, we're certainly happy to slide it, as the chairman suggested, to the east. There are utility poles literally in every other direction. You can see that from the 4 photographs. Utility poles across the street. There's utility poles around the corner on Race. There's utility poles also on the north side of Birch, as well as some on the south side. So it's not out of character. If you look at the criteria that was thoughtfully set forth in the officer's report, and Lisa did go through those criteria. It's consistent with what's there. That's the standard. It's not a significant effect, which is also the standard. And as Lisa testified, the existing utility poles, both on Birch and on Race, all have existing lines or equipment on them. So it's not as simple as just moving to some other pole. And you can't put a new pole in an existing pole line. So that's why we're at the location. But as Lisa mentioned, you know, we're happy to slide it to the east, more away from the corner. I think that would be a fair compromise and keep us on track under the shot clock of the federal law.
So, I mean, from my perspective, the applicant does have a lot of rights in this type of a situation, as you know. So, I mean, if the representation is that they've investigated all feasible options and this is the feasible option, and we know that they've had discussions with, I'm assuming it was Jim Purcell.
Yes, we've been working with
And
Jim for a
he's-
long time with
and you've
this.
ve- And
yeah.
he's vetted this.
Yes.
He would most likely say, I mean, I haven't spoken to Jim about it, but knowing that Jim was involved, he's not that easy on these applications, and he will ensure that they're in appropriate locations. So if the only other option, it sounds like, might be municipal property, I mean, I don't know if that was considered, but if it was considered, and then.
I have documentation. It was suggested to be considered, whether it was ever truly whether it was considered or whether it was a viable option.
Right.
I don't have that documentation. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know how I would function with the poles.
Well, that might be, I mean, did you guys consider the poles in the parking lot that are, I guess they're in CP South,
I
I'm
think as
assuming?
Lisa's testified, number one, it's further than, from an engineering standpoint, it's too far away. So we wouldn't consider that far away.
wouldn't
But
have
also, we
considered it.
wouldn't consider private property. I know you call it municipal, but at the end of the day, it's private property, which would require a lease, which is completely different than the utilities locating in the right-of-way. That's the
It's a
key.
public park, but it's not the public right-of-way.
That's
Right.
right,
That's
correct.
And it's in
that's the
current,
difference.
yeah, and
That's
we
the
don't
key.
know anything about those poles and what they're being
Correct.
used for.
Correct.
So it sounds like the testimony is that this is basically within a 100-foot radius of this pole is really the location, and from an engineering and from your standpoint.
Yeah, and the reason for the corner is that you're getting directional support all 4 ways, right? As far as service and coverage. So as we slide down Birch, as you're saying, maybe slide down, you know, you're losing that visibility towards the park and also in the other direction. So you want to be by the intersection as much as possible, and that's what this shows. From a regulatory standpoint, we would have a small window of a few feet to be able to come down if that's what you're asking for. But beyond that, then that's a whole new proposed location and application. So, you know, there's a little bit of a leeway, but we're not 20 feet in another direction.
I would say that there should be a vote tonight.
Are there any members of the public who want to make a comment on this application? Okay. Does anyone want to put forth a resolution that can be voted either way? All right, then I'll try to give it a try. That understanding that there are constraints larger than what this commission knows about that are engineering related, and that the municipality's engineer has not found any other alternatives for us, then the question is, can we vote to approve the request with the understanding that the pole will be installed to the extent possible away from the current cone location so that it's not smack right on the corner? So that's my proposed resolution.
Okay, I'll second that.
Do a roll call. Mr. Shatskin?
Yeah, I vote yes reluctantly, but I think we're constrained.
Ms. Howard?
No.
Ms. Capizoli?
Yeah, what Roger said.
Ms. Friedman?
Yes. Right. If we have to.
Ms. Kroll? Ms. Kozevnikova? Chair, sure.
No.
So the recommendation does not have the majority. So we have 6 here tonight. It's half and half. We have three yeses. But it's a recommendation. It's only a recommendation that we do not recommend it as proposed.
Okay, so then it goes to the.
But we need to, then that would be the memo that we would cite. Yes, yeah. Well, it's an administrative waiver of site plan.
So just to be clear, the recommendation is no on the administrative site plan waiver, correct? That's the extent of the vote? And the next step is?
Go to before the planning board for administrative waiver on the site.
We submit the memo to the Board of Jurisdiction.
Right, and then the chair will submit a memo just indicating the reasons.
I'm sorry, I'm just having a little trouble hearing you because of the fan.
No, I'm sorry. The chair will submit a written memo to the planning board indicating the reasons for the HPC's recommendation. And it's under the law, it's a recommendation, it's an advisory. They're acting in an advisory capacity on this matter.
And is there going to be discussion this evening on what that recommendation is?
We do not recommend the preservation plan as proposed as part of the administrative waiver. So that portion of the administrative waiver is not recommended by the HPC.
Okay.
But then the planning board has that recommendation, but then ultimately the planning board makes a decision on the preservation plan approval aspect of the application as well.
Okay. And just to be clear, is there anything further that goes in the recommendation as the reason for the recommendation, or is it just a matter of that the vote was 3-4 against the motion to approve? I've just never seen a motion to approve voted against by the person who made the motion. So I'm just a little confused procedurally on how the recommendation would read.
Based on the record, I think, and the comments from the council, from the commission, and I think the commission can speak to this, but it sounds like it was based on a lack of information, or a need for more information about the location and whether there were any other feasible locations. It's,
I guess the only thing I would ask then is that if the recommendation could please include what the language of the motion was, because I think that's very important, specifically that there were constraints from an engineering standpoint that the board didn't have information on or knowledge of, that the municipal engineer had not found any other alternatives, and to the extent possible that the facility would be moved away from the cone location shown. I think that's important for context.
absolutely.
And I would ask, if possible, if the board can reconsider your vote in that context. Specifically, the preservation officer, pointed out that the standard is, there's nothing about alternatives in the standard. The standard is whether the work pursuant to a preservation plan will have a significant impact, which we think we've shown is not going to have a significant impact because of everything that Lisa testified to. Quite frankly, I don't think there's anything about alternatives in the criteria that are cited, specifically under Section 10, T10B 390, T10B 386 1, 2, and 7. There's just nothing in that criteria regarding alternatives. It has to do with sustainability, whether this is in context with the existing streetscape, which we believe it is, and with respect to the preservation plan application itself. So we'd ask the board if you could reconsider your vote tonight.
I guess I have a question for all of us that,
Can you turn your mic?
as I understand it, you are saying that it can't be relocated by the park because it's not public right-of-way.
Yeah, I think the testimony was really threefold. One, these facilities form a network, and they cover a very small area because of the low height of the pole. Again, the pole's only to the top of the antenna 33 feet, which is at or below the surrounding poles. So they don't cover a large area. When you look at the photographs and the plans, you can see heavy foliage in that area going down Race Street. So that's one reason. Number two is we don't have access to public property, including park property. We do have access to the right-of-way as a public utility, just like the other utilities that have poles in the right-of-way. So I think those were the two main reasons.
Okay, so in essence, it's whether it's moved off the corner or, 20 feet down the street. I don't know that that's any better, and it just seems to me a necessary evil if you're going to say the community needs coverage, right?
Correct.
This is coverage for
Yes, we've
that.
personally met with police, chief of police, with emergency responders that have demonstrated to us that this is a need all throughout Princeton, that they've encountered time and time again when there are events or, public.
For the public good, one assumes, right?
That they have trouble with communication. So this is meant to service the community. This is why these are being installed.
So I don't think by moving it off the corner 10 feet, it's a big pole. That's unfortunate that.
Could we just get some clarification, Sarah or somebody? Did the Princeton engineer examine all the other options and determine that this was the only option?
I can't say that.
Okay, because
I can't conclude that because I wasn't here for these discussions, but this was the final selected location after a number of revisions, and that other locations that would be outside of the historic district that would be not here were proposed by Elizabeth when she was here. So those were considered. And if there is outside of that, to bring it back to my report, because the comments and recommendations section of my report and in addition to the other citations I make to the ordinance, is referencing the standards that, per the ordinance, we are supposed to review a historic preservation plan review, what the criteria for historic preservation plan approval is. The questions and the comments and recommendations.
Yeah, and I looked
So
at the
if we're-
code myself. It was spot on. I mean, the officer's report was spot on what the criteria are.
I mean, it's not compatible with a historic neighborhood, right? It just isn't. It's just not visually compatible. But I don't know, you know, unless you can't put it underground, right? I'm not.
That's
I mean,
right.
I'm not advocating for you all. I'm advocating for the neighborhood, but I don't know what the alternative would be.
I guess I feel one of the unanswered questions is, in deference to historic district, whether the municipality can say our property that we own as a municipality, that
It's not
area-
the public right-of-way. There's a difference between public property and the public right-of-way. Utilities don't necessarily run through a public park. Because it's an existing utility line in the public right-of-way.
Yeah, and under federal law, there is, and I don't mean to lean on federal law too much, and I'm doing it respectfully. Under federal law, there's a requirement for your municipality to allow utilities such as Crown Castle to put these types of facilities in the right-of-way in a non-discriminatory basis. And as Lisa testified and as the plans show, there are other utilities in the right-of-way of very similar design. In fact, more intrusive. There's no wires overhead coming from this pole. The wires going to this pole are underground. The antenna must be above ground, to your point. It is wireless technology to serve a public purpose. Everything else is very consistent, both in the color of the wood pole, the color of the proposed antenna, which matches other poles we have in Princeton, and equipment we have in Princeton that have been approved in similar circumstances and that are similar to the other utilities. So it's not as easy just to go on non-right-of-way property. Federal law actually has requirements that we be allowed in the right-of-way on a non-discriminatory basis. And I think that's important.
Thank you. So I understand just now that the commission can decide whether they want to reopen this and vote on it again or differently now that we've heard some more information. So I guess we would need someone to put forth that they want to have us discussing it more and perhaps vote on it again.
I still think that I need more information, and I'm willing to take the time I need to get the information I need, but I don't have what I need to give you a yes vote today. You know.
Other members want to comment?
I'll just note that, as the applicant indicated, that the standard is Section 390 for the review of this board. Of this commission. It's based on the historic preservation standards under Section 390.
I believe that we have sent memos to both zoning and planning board where we've indicated that we haven't agreed on a particular issue.
Lisa, doesn't would the memo, would the recommendation have to cite specific preservation plan review criteria that it doesn't meet? Because I think we should.
No, I think
use that standard.
it can cite the reasons that the commission isn't comfortable moving forward. I think it's important. I would say that you might want to put them on the record, that the commission should put them on the record, indicating that, and then that information can be shared with the planning board.
Would the commission be willing to reconsider its vote and possibly add a third condition to the chairman's former, which is that, on the understanding that at the administrative waiver provision, it'll be confirmed that there are no better alternative locations in the general vicinity of this. And on that, the commission would recommend the approval.
How do other commission members feel? I do like that confirming no other location is viable after we hear back from engineering.
Were you suggesting that that would be part of the planning board decision, or?
Correct.
Right, so it would be
A recommendation on the condition that.
condition that at the planning board hearing, there is testimony indicating that there is no other viable or feasible, or feasible
A
alternative.
more feasible alternative in the
More
general
feasible.
vicinity.
Okay.
I just think it puts it in context a little better.
I'm sorry?
I believe it puts in context the discussion that we've had here.
I think that makes sense.
Mhm. Yep. You can, that's absolutely appropriate.
Yeah.
So I think,
All right, so I had to learn how to put this out there. So thank you for that moment. A resolution tonight to say that HPC would recommend approval of a preservation plan that subject to the planning board having gotten additional information that says that there's no other alternative. There's not a more feasible alternative. So that's a motion. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second that.
Okay. Mr. Shatskin?
Excuse me, clarification, is this an overriding vote or an additional vote?
I guess the motion would be first to, I guess you would repeal your first motion, and this would be a new motion in place of that original motion, in place of the original resolution. So you can clarify that.
Okay, yes?
Ms. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Capizoli?
Yes.
Ms. Friedman? Ms. Kroll? Ms. Kozemnikova? Chair Scher?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much for working through that with us. We appreciate it. And we'll do a good amount of research on that alternative. Thank you. Thank you.
I think.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Up next is the application for, what's the address? 13 Mercer Street?
9 Mercer.
9 Mercer Street, about replacement of 11 windows on the 3rd floor. If y'all could come on up, please.
Thank you for considering our application. My name is Beth Young. We're at 9 Mercer Street, right at the top of Mercer Street. Sorry, thank you. My husband Lou and I have owned the building since 1996. It's the one with the little red geraniums in the front. And we are looking to replace the 3rd-story windows with windows that are the same as, they're not, the windows are fiberglass
But
clad.
Beth, 1 second.
Oh,
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes.
Okay, can you please state your full name for the record?
Beth Young.
Thank you.
Okay. So, the proposal meets, I believe, meets all the qualifications that are listed under the, consider the following conducting their, while conducting their review part. We are not changing any of the styles of the windows. They're all going to be the same. We are requesting that we can change from fully wooden windows to fiberglass clad with wood on the inside. The windows are not original. Many of them are not original. I can't even tell which ones are original, which ones were not. The building was renovated in 1981, and at that time, I think some of the windows were replaced. I'm not quite sure which ones. The building is from probably the 1840s, 1850s, so it's gone through many revisions. When you look at the application, you'll see that the building was changed, I think, dramatically over those years. So we're just requesting that we can replace those windows with Marvin Elevate windows, 11 windows on that floor. So anything else you need from me?
Hang on for a minute. I was going to ask Sarah if she would give us her analysis.
Yes, so I won't read it word for word in the interest of time, but as the applicant stated, this is a property in the Mercer Hill Historic District. It is a Type 2 historic district, so it's subject to preservation plan review for any changes visible from the public right-of-way, which almost all of these windows on the 3rd story are. This current building dates to probably 1850 based on historic maps I found, but has drastically changed over time from a small 1-story building, I believe, initially 1.5-story building, to what we see today as a 3-story building. Based on the alterations and additions, the only windows I could say may possibly be the original windows are the ones in the front, but that we obviously can't confirm that. As I stated, although the current windows are most likely not original to their respective alterations and additions, they have retained their historic materiality. The proposed replacement windows are not of in-kind materials, and therefore this constitutes a change in material to an architectural feature visible from the public right-of-way. And we know that the current configuration of the house has been in place since at least the early 20th century based on historic photos and aerials. In regards to my comments and recommendations, staff finds the proposed project generally retains the building's historic use, features, spaces, and spatial relationships, as well as the overall historic character of the property that qualifies it as a contributing resource to the Mercer Hill Historic District. Staff recommends that the commission consider the following while conducting the review: whether the proposed project meets the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties, whether the proposed project is appropriate to and compatible with the existing structures and landscape of the Mercer Hill Historic District, whether the proposed project would adversely affect the ambiance, character, and appearance of the Mercer Hill Historic District, whether the proposed project preserves or enhances the historic or architectural value and character of the structure, whether the proposed project would adversely affect the exterior architectural features and setting of the structure, as well as the historic and architectural character, whether the installation of fiberglass clad replacement windows that match the existing wood windows in size, configuration, operation, and finish, but not material, meet the criteria for preservation plan approval.
So, I have a picture of the front of the building here. And I don't know, I can pass this up to you if you'd like.
Ms. Young, is that the same picture that's in your application?
Yes. Okay. Same picture as,
Great.
that was taken recently.
Great.
So like the day that I submitted the application. So that's a brand-new picture. In light of our previous person's conversation, we've always sort of thought it would be great to have underground wiring there, because if you look at that picture, but that's beside the point. So it's far up, it's high above the streetscape, third floor, not something that you're going to, people are not, they'll look up, but they're not going to see the materials that well at that level. I also talked to the person at Nice Lumber, who is going to, Nice Lumber's quote is in the application. And I spoke to him today about the windows. He said they are, long-term windows. They provide good insulation to the building. They are, they are appropriate to what we're doing. Nice Lumber does a lot of window replacements for historic buildings. And so when we chose these windows, we wanted to choose ones that were appropriate to the historic district. So that's why we went with these windows.
I think that the building has gone through a number of changes over the last 80 years
Or
more. So I think given the current state of the building, I don't see a big conflict in this decision.
Well, I agree with the applicant and with Julie, and I think that maybe we can get right to business on a resolution if someone wants to put forth one.
I'll make a motion to approve the application as submitted.
Second.
Thank you, Roger.
Mr. Shatskin?
Yes.
Ms. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Capizzoli?
Yes.
Ms. Friedman? Ms. Kroll? Ms. Kuzevnikova? Chair Scher.
Yes.
Resolution is passed.
Thank you.
Motion is passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. It's a fun building. And if you get a chance to look at the pictures that are here, I think what happened with the building is they actually turned it, the front windows, I think, are actually on the side of the building in the one picture, and they turned the whole building. It's fascinating. And the basement is fascinating because it has all kinds of different materials in it. So it's a nice little building. All right, thank you very much.
Yes, we were all thinking the same thing. Yeah. Thank you very much. 22 Green Street.
Hello. Moving along.
First of all, understand how to use the slideshow. Okay. Okay. Is it
Will you
working up?
both be testifying or speaking?
He might be,
He had dental work today, so I think it's unlikely, but
Okay, well, can you, well, Mr.
we
can
can
you?
both raise our hands.
Okay, both, yes, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, and if you can just give your full names for the record.
Kirsten Thoft.
And Theodore Nadeau.
Great.
Okay. Well, it seems like I say something and the thing skips ahead. Good evening. My name is Kirsten Thoft, and I'm the architect and co-owner with my husband Ted of the house at 22 Green Street, property that we have owned for 20 years. Not to be repetitive, but I guess it's important to read this into the record. My 30-year practice has focused on contextually sensitive residential work in Princeton, ranging from the restoration of a 1905 Queen Anne duplex at 50 Wiggins Street, which received an award from the Historical Society, to high-performance new homes such as 45 Linden Lane, a LEED Platinum project, and the Valley Road houses, which received both energy efficiency certifications and recognition for community education about sustainable building. Across these projects, my consistent goal has been to respect the character of the neighborhoods that they're in while allowing buildings to function well for contemporary use. In January, I came before the Commission for a concept review for this project, and I very much appreciate the feedback that I received at the time. I also did meet with Sarah a couple times, once in the field, once in the office, to review various options, because I took your comments to heart and have updated the plans for the project accordingly. And so I wanted to give you a quick slideshow to orient you and describe what I've changed. So this first image shows the Sanborn map from 1895 and also location of the property. Oh, sorry. Oh, hello. That's much louder. Okay, now I don't need to yell. The axonometric indicates, and I can even use my cursor here, I guess, from this point forward is the existing building, and this small L at the back is what Sarah told me it's called when it's an extension off an existing house. That is the addition that we are requesting zoning permission for. And this is an ADU, which is a tiny house. It's only 251 square feet. So those are the two additions to the property. And the roof, which I had originally come to you in January with as a gable facing the Green Street, I have changed to a hipped roof, which is higher than the existing hipped roof, but still less than a half story high. And the purpose of that is to accommodate mechanical equipment. In the next slide, you can see a site plan which shows in light gray here, this is the existing house, and the existing porch on Green Street. And then the hatch mark where it says addition is the proposed addition, which is pulled in from both sides of the house. So, and also is shorter than the existing house to reinforce its subservience and the fact that it's an addition. I will say that the original house is actually 3 parts and was built sometime after 1850, and we're not sure actually when the last piece was put on, maybe around 1895. So it has grown over the years already in 3 pieces, and our proposed addition would be another extension in that same spirit. You can see that our addition is still back from the properties on either side, their rear facades, and it's barely visible from the street, which I will show you in the next slide. So the upper image is the existing streetscape, and the lower image is the proposed streetscape. So you can see that the increase in the height of the hipped roof is negligible in terms of its visibility on Green Street. And the proposal is to maintain the facade exactly the way it is, same colors, same shutters, same window trim, same door, same porch, with a few improvements. Whoops. All right, I'm going to go back to this roof just to be clear about the height. So I want to raise the roof by a total of 5'9" from what's currently existing. I would keep the eaves in the location that they're at, and I would end up with 4'3" of mechanical space in the attic. So not a full story by any means, not even really half story. Just enough space to put an air handler and ductwork in. And this on Green Street is what you get if you stand across the street and at an angle, which is, I think, as much roof as you would be able to see. I think that maintaining it as a hip keeps it consistent with its current look. It stays the shortest house on the street, and it maintains the eave line that wraps all the way around the house, which we currently have, and maintains it at the same height. I have taken the front roof and pitched it even further back than the sides, so that I'm keeping the mechanical equipment in the back of the house, and that way I'm getting as little roof visibility as possible from Green Street. In the rear, this portion here, this gable, is the proposed addition. And again, it's slightly lower than the rest of the house, pulls in on both sides. The window fenestration is a little bit different. I have a little bit more window back there, which I thought was appropriate for distinguishing it from the mass of the existing house and what we'll call the original house, original as of today. This is the ADU. This next door, which unfortunately I didn't get quite as big a picture of as I wanted, is the single-car garage that is our next-door neighbors. And the ADU that I'm proposing is a little bit larger than a single-car garage, or it's a little bit larger than their single-car garage, I should say. But it's 251 square feet, which is about the size of a single-car garage. So I believe that it's consistent to have that in the backyard. It follows development pattern in the rest of the neighborhood. We would have it, the next-door neighbor has one, the neighbor to the right of that has one, and then two over on the left in this photograph also has a garage, which is actually a two-car garage. These are the floor plans, which I put in just so that you can see the extent of the addition that's being requested. It is, I believe it's 13, I'm sorry, I don't have this number off the top of my head. It's about 13 and a half feet by 14 and a half feet, I believe. And we're doing it so that we can get a bedroom downstairs and a bathroom and a closet upstairs, an additional bathroom and a closet upstairs. This is the ADU floor plan. Oops. And I had a conversation with Sarah about, whether there was a concern about the appearance of it from Paul Robeson and whether it was garage-like enough. And so I proposed that we could flip it so that its entryway is facing the house as opposed to Paul Robeson, and that the commission might be more inclined to be happy with that. I'm not, from my point of view, the plan is better when it's the left-hand side one, but I'm certainly willing to flip it if that feels more in context for you. An ADU is something we're allowed to do but I understand that you might want it to look more like a secondary building. This is showing the roof plan. You can see that the pitch at the front of the house, which is on the right-hand side there, is significantly, pulls the peak way back so that I don't think that you're going to see much of the roof from Green Street. I am proposing solar panels. The roof color is shown accurately on the right there. It's timberline shingle in charcoal, and the solar panels are black. And so the plan has a grayer roof so that you can see where the panels are, but in reality, they're going to be a very similar color to the roof shingles, and I think it would be very difficult to see them from any public right-of-way, particularly Green Street. And for gutters, the house doesn't currently have any gutters. No Yankee gutters, no nothing. And I would like to put gutters on it, so I am proposing a half-round metal gutter. Siding. Everybody told me about their feelings about hardy plank last time, which I agree with. And so I did a lot of research into alternate materials, which Sarah's passing around, and found a composite siding which is made out of fly ash, and it is exactly the same profile as new wood siding and the existing wood siding. Same exposure, same thickness, same bevel, and it would be indistinguishable from a new wood siding if we were to use it. And my request is that we be allowed to use that as replacement siding for the two side elevations, which you can see from this photograph and these other photographs, and also mentioned in Sarah's report. The siding is quite degraded on both sides and the rear. It's in good shape on the front, thankfully. And so our proposal is we keep it on the front, we patch it if needed, but other than that, we are going to keep the facade exactly as you see it, with the exception of improvements to the porch. It's got a mismatched column, which I have a replacement for. The railing is broken. The steps are concrete, precast, sinking into the ground. And so I'm proposing that we put in new wood porch steps, which are historically accurate, that we replace the column, that we repair the railings, and keep the siding, keep the shutters, replace the window sashes, if possible, assuming the frame is okay. And if the frame isn't okay, then we would be using Marvin, I don't know why I don't have a photograph of it, I apologize, Marvin Elevate windows, which is what I would be using in the remainder of the house as well. Let's see, siding, front door will remain the same, and there are two brackets on this house that I do not think were, it's unclear when they were put on there, but they look 1920s-ish to me and to Sarah, I believe. And I would like matching brackets on all the posts. And so I'm proposing to do a custom bracket that is based on a Roberts Illustrated Millwork design, which is in the millwork catalog that Sarah has a copy of, as do I. And I think that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't know if I covered everything. I know it's late.
Can I just, the materials that are being showed right now, are they haven't been provided as part of the application, have they?
The materials?
Yeah, that you're presenting right now, are they?
The ones that you have now? Yeah, they were.
Okay.
These were in the agenda packets.
Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure.
They're organized a little differently, but it's.
Yep.
I will. So, big difference from the concept review. I mean, the roof height is a lot lower than
Yes.
what you had originally proposed.
Yes.
So, wow. So,
Well, I took you seriously.
it looks a lot like it does now. I mean,
That's the plan.
it really does. I was kind of surprised.
Good.
So,
I worked hard on it, so
anyway,
thanks.
you really listened, because, yeah, it's quite a bit lower. So anyway, I was really impressed with all of this, the work you've done, especially the wood product that you found is really interesting.
It's really expensive, but I think it's really, I think it's worth it because it gives you the same shadow lines as a wood siding, but it's rot resistant. It will hold paint for 15 years apparently. So it's a product I'm excited to use, actually.
Yeah, it has a very different feel than Hardy Plank.
Yes.
Very different.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, so thank you for listening to us. And I think, I don't have a problem with the ADU the way it is shown on the plans, but I don't know, maybe other people have an issue. I mean, it still is the smallest house between the other ones. So
Yeah.
you've kind of stuck with that. And that's not usually the case with these applications. So anyway, thank you for all that work.
Yeah,
Yeah, I second Julie's praise. It shows that you did a lot of work.
Great, thanks.
Are there any plans for landscaping behind the ADU?
I did show, I mean, basically, our neighbors put in a row of arborvitae. By behind, you mean at Paul Robeson's
Yeah,
side?
sorry.
Yeah,
on the
our
Robeson
neighbors
side.
put in a row of arborvitae, and, I mean, I can do that. I mean, I'm not sure how much the purpose is hide and disguise, or not. Arborvitae, I think, are pretty bland.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
But they are evergreen, and, you know, they grow taller than a 6-foot fence, and so I'm happy to take, you know, whatever thoughts you have on it. I haven't thought a lot about the landscaping, to be honest.
Okay.
Yet, but that is what I'm showing.
So I just have a question on what we're looking at now. Is that your original view from Paul Robeson, or is that the flip?
That's not flipped, right? So you
Oh, it
can see
looks-
that there's.
Looks fine.
There's 2 windows here,
Mm-hmm.
which are bigger. And
Yeah, no,
there's-
I mean, I don't have a problem with the way it looks from Paul Robeson, if
Okay.
that's your original,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that would be nicer. It lets the sun into the little place that you sit
Yeah.
in the ADU, so.
Yeah, kind of, it picks up the fenestration from the back a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did bring one other sample that I didn't tell Sarah about, because it just showed up on Friday. And maybe, it's window trim. It is Marvin's window trim that goes with the windows. It is meant to be historically accurate. It is the same size as what I showed in the drawings made out of Boral. But I talked to my contractor about it, and he said that he thought that it would produce a sharper line, which would be better looking than the Boral would. So I brought it because but I understand that it hasn't been read into the record or whatever the terminology is. So, yeah, I can stick with the Boral if necessary, if you don't want to consider this, or I'm happy to pull it out and you can think about it, or we can talk about it later. I don't know how to go about that.
Well, you can enter it as an exhibit.
You brought it all the way here.
And I guess we can mark it A1, as our chair has reminded me.
Yeah, that excavate is here, so that's the cell. 2 inches.
Mm.
Which is what the boral seal is. That's window, oh, what's it made out of? Is that what? That's a good question. I think it's fiberglass. Yeah. Yeah. And then this is casing,
Mm.
which is nice and thick, so that the
On the side, yeah.
siding goes into it. I'm sorry to spring it on you, but
No,
it got sprung on me.
might as well see it.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, sorry about that.
Can I ask a question? Yeah. I have a, can I ask a question? So
Yeah.
actually, if we go back to the view site from Paul Robeson, there was a question from the public last time about the solar panels. And if you could indicate to us where the solar panels will be in this picture.
Here, along on this back roof here, and then here on the rear of the main house roof. So not on the ADU.
No, that's it, thank you.
I have some questions. First, I think changing the roof line is fantastic. I think that really, seems to accommodate the HVAC and also not be a major change. But I am concerned about the non-replacement in kind of the wood paneling, wood siding, in particular on the west side, because as you showed on the plot plan of the street, the house to the west is pulled very far back from the street, so that when you drive down Green Street, you see actually more of the side of the house than you do the side facade than you do the front facade. So it's very much a contributing feature of the house, in my opinion.
Right.
So I'm wondering what is the rationale for not replacing it in kind?
Well, basically, given that they're exactly the same appearance, my rationale is maintainability and the ability to hold paint, to not have to be repainted, it won't rot. So the material is just far superior. In fact, I've got a
Well, the
picture.
wood has been on there for more than 100 years, so it's pretty durable.
Well, okay, so agreed that that wood is durable. So if you look at what I've got here, you can see what wood from 1918 looks like. It's old growth wood. It's got very tight rings.
Yeah, no, I've seen that illustration elsewhere.
Okay. So
But I do think that there's, I do think that there's reliable wood siding. I don't think that it's, yeah, it's.
Okay. I've used wood siding before. I almost brought, I should have brought the piece of wood siding because you can feel that it looks like the 2018 new growth, sort of feels like balsa wood essentially, even though it's cedar. So, yeah, I mean, that's my reasoning, is to not use the wood in favor of a material that will last much longer and looks exactly the same.
Has this material been tested for over a long period of time?
It's, Boral has been on the market. So the siding, which is called Duration, is made out of the same material as Boral. And it's been on the market for quite some time. And yes, it has been tested. It's like the top choice of contractors and architects.
Can you define quite some time?
I could have my husband look it up. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Okay, yeah, because I guess, well, Julie said she wasn't familiar with it and hadn't seen it before.
Oh, the product that they were talking about, for siding,
Right.
has not been available. Boral's been out there for a long time, but not
Not that profile.
profile.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I would say that I have seen a huge difference in the quality of wood over the last 15 years. If you look at framing from like even up to the 1980s, you'll find that it's far denser and solid and reliable. And as you get into the 2000s and now 2020, it's super fast grown and it's porous. I mean, the wood is literally like balsa wood. It's light and it's not structurally the same as like our house is framed from the 1950s and we have a newer edition, and the difference in the wood is tremendous. That old growth wood is a completely different product than what they're selling right now as wood.
I completely agree. My research department has found that Boral was founded in Europe in 1946. So it has been around for 80 years. It's made out of fly ash and resin. And you've got a sample of both the trim up there and the siding profile. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Boral is the alternative, which is what I was requesting to use. Yeah. That's what my contractor believes. I mean, and he's used both. So he thinks that that's a better, more historic and crisper look than the Boral. Yeah, it definitely feels different, yeah. I mean, I guess I would argue, I hope no one's tapping on my house, but they could, I suppose. I think, I was going to say that I think that the criteria is how it looks. But
I think that it looks like plastic.
for exterior use, no, you can't. It's really, I mean, you could use Ipe, I suppose. There's no wood exterior products that are not expensive tropical woods that can withstand, yeah. I mean, it's just, wood is not what it used to be here.
But just to clarify, the fiberglass was a different option than the Boral, which was included
the Boral,
in the application.
yes, I would, you know.
Because the Boral has a
if the Boral is
different feel.
Correct, yes. If the Boral is okay and that's not, that's fine, yeah.
Can I go back to the solar panels? And this is really not the question for the applicants, but this is really a question for the commission members. Because, again, the member of the public last time, she brought up sort of, you know, the sort of the differences and sort of, I guess she maybe has come across the solar panels issue in the Witherspoon Jackson district. So to the, you know, I just wanted to make sure that the members of the commission are okay with how the solar panels are placed in this particular case, and that it is consistent with any previous cases, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say.
I was going to bring up a similar question, so that's good that it's come back up again. So, Sarah, in your evaluation and looking at this and sight lines and where you could stand, it seems to me that they are pretty far, like back mid-block kind of positioned, so that you don't really see them up front, and that I'm pleased to see that they're not on the ADU, which would have been an obvious thing to do, but it would have been right in your face. So I appreciate that difference. And are they, did you say that they are black and the roof is like the dark gray timberline?
Yep.
Okay. Well, they should kind of disappear, I think, and that they're pretty far back. They're not up front.
Kirsten, can you put up that slide?
Sorry, what?
Can you put up the slide showing
Yeah.
the solar panels?
Mhm.
Yeah. They're
Yeah,
pushed to the back.
Also, the roof profile changed since we saw it the first time.
Yeah.
It's much flatter.
Yes. Yeah.
So you have 5 solar panels on there?
Sorry, what?
Am I reading it correctly, that you have 5 solar panels, or?
There are, I think there's a total of 14.
But in 5
Oh, but
groups.
in
But in
5
five-
groups?
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Sorry, it keeps doing that on its own.
Emily?
I actually have a question for the HPC, because I haven't been on it for that long, but I certainly believe that the HPC has approved a lot of applications for replacement of wood siding and replacement of wood trim on buildings within recent years. I'm sure some of the ones that have come before from the university have been, and so I just want to make that point, that in fact, certain people seem to have been able to do a very good job of replacing wood siding and wood trim.
Noted. So, to my knowledge, this is the first time of the, and I don't know what to call it, let's call it the fiberglass replacing the boral, or in place of, for the window surround.
Oh, yeah.
Sarah, do we have any others in our file? I mean, that's kind of an unfair question for you, but.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not a product I'm familiar with. Boral, we've seen
Yeah.
pretty often. But the Marvin fiberglass is not something I'm familiar with.
So personally, I'm not a big fan of boral either. They use it on my house some, and it sticks out at me. So, a new material being put forward is exciting or interesting, unless it turns out to be. So, what I was going to say, and it's really not relevant, but it's my only experience, is that the fiberglass that's used on a lot of boats. Now, remember, I'm a wooden boat guy, so my comments are jaded to begin with. But that sometimes the fiberglass in sun, of course, on the water is very different than on a tree-lined street. It begins to look really strange after time. Yeah, it's like, oof, it looks faded and cracked and whatever. So we don't really know how this is going to play out.
I have
But
had, sorry.
but your work on profile and shape and heft are all kind of consistent with what the Secretary of Interior standards ask us to do. So I don't really know how to answer this any more than that. I said heft. It has a little. It is lighter weight. You're right, and it. Or will pieces get broken out of it when the lawnmower sends a...
Well, I hope not. I mean, I do have these windows, not this trim, on my own house, which is now 14 years old, and it hasn't had any fading or color change.
Mhm.
And they do, Marvin, which is a very reputable company, does say that it won't. Mine are dark bronze, and those I would expect to fade. These are stone white, so I wouldn't expect any color change. So that's not a concern. I haven't used these before, so I can't, I'm relying on my contractor, who I have worked with for 30 years, and his assessment. But I can't change the fact that if you tap on it, it will not be a solid material. So if that's...
So I guess the question that's out there is could the window surround, or whatever the proper term is, could that be wood, but we're saying that the wood is not that nice?
I would strongly prefer using boral, because the wood just rots.
Oh, I meant that material.
Oh.
The white, what are we calling that?
Fiberglass, I guess.
Fiberglass, yeah.
Yeah.
If I could broaden the context for a second.
Right. I mean, if this is a big sticking point, I'll just use the boral. That's...
Yeah.
Can I just jump in
Sure,
real quick?
please.
Roger. Sorry, I apologize. I just wanted to remind the members of the commission, as well as Sarah, that we had a case fairly recently. It was one of the last cases that Elric Endersby was here for, where we actually, the commission recommended that an applicant who came in and she wanted to replace the wood siding, so we actually recommended that she do not do that. And we said that repairing would be better. So we had that fairly recently in the fall.
And that's on the siding component versus the fiberglass.
Well, I would comment that what she was proposing was an extruded vinyl product that did not have a true reveal. It was basically sheets of extruded plastic.
This was the Foursquare house,
Yeah.
correct? And to that point, the siding is a character-defining feature of the Foursquare style. I mean, we can argue the retention of historic material and keeping the historic material intact or replacing it in kind here, but outside of the reveal and size of the siding, this is a much more vernacular structure. And as I cited in my report, there is precedent in the Secretary and the Interior Standards of a secondary feature or secondary elevation, if it's not character defining, to use substitute materials, especially in cases of wood, because wood is not the same quality it was 100 years ago. And regards to the west elevation is the more visible of the two side elevations, but based on my site visit, that was the one that had the siding showed much more damage, which probably because it is more visible, so it's more exposed.
Yeah, if I can jump in. Again, I just want to change the paradigm in that Witherspoon Jackson it's not an architecturally pure district. We're talking about essentially a cultural district, and I think that's the basis on which it became a historic district. It's very heterogeneous. There's vinyl siding, there's aluminum siding, asbestos siding, you name it. And so, to me, if it looks like wood, I'm fine with it. I mean, if it maintains the same appearance, I think it's fine in this district. Perhaps this is where design guidelines would be of great comfort to us, but we don't have them yet.
But one minor note I would say is that 22 Green is a specific, somewhat unique, somewhat historical, retained, contributing member in terms of the sort of architecture and history of this area, in addition to the cultural things. And we are making every possible attempt to maintain its look in the historical way that it currently appears, so that most people, most of the time, will still see it as this contributing member. The fact that the wall passing by the house, the large western, face that you could see between the houses, you're still most of the time going to be seeing the front of the house when you walk by the house. You may notice it, rarely, but it's also, we're not trying to unmatch the side of the house from the front of the house. We want it to look similar. We have super high standards ourselves for, how the house should look. But we are here to adhere to the, HPC guidelines regarding, sensitive, repair, replace, change, all of that aesthetics, which I can't speak to as well as Kirsten can. But, I know that, we are sensitive to that, and that's why we, modified the plans for the roof, just to keep it the way that it is, or more the way that it is, even though you could argue a lot of different ways about that. And so the siding issue is really, this has to do with the maintainability, while still adhering to the look of the historic house. So we want this house to also last for another 100 years, 200 years, and that's why we're doing the things that we're doing to repair and keep it in a historical way, but also enable it to be updated for the change that we want.
Noted. So if there aren't other comments, I'm going to share what I was thinking, and that is that where we are now, the changes to the building are much less impactful. Is that a word? We'll use that. That we have not changed the structure so that the shape of the building is greatly changed. I mean, I think that is something that all of us reacted to last time, and I think also the public comment was about that, it was making the building much bigger, much grander, it was overwhelming, blah, 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 whatever words they used. That trying to work around the basic minimum for the mechanical systems, and that somebody has to go up there and change that filter in 4 feet 3 inches, not me, I think is very significant. Keeping all the window sizes and things we haven't talked about, changing that so the character of the building really does read as authentically as it has. The question is about the sheathing. And there have been a lot of materials, as Roger points out, a lot of different tribes of materials tried in that neighborhood, probably all over town, but the density of that neighborhood, you see more variety everywhere. That it, in one way, does keep with the Secretary's standards in that its shape and reveal and intention is to be as close to original, but replacing materials where needed is, I think, in keeping with what's supposed to be, and I think consistent with our ordinance. I do get nervous about introducing new materials. I mean, who doesn't? I do take that you're not only homeowners here, but your profession's kind of on the line. What are they doing? And everyone's going to see your product, and you're willing to step out there and try these things is more than my just putting something up on my house saying, whatever. But I don't want to dismiss the comments that have been brought up about these other materials, and so I'm not really sure where to go with this, except for does anyone want to try putting together a resolution that talks about these different things and what choices might be? The applicant hasn't really said, I will try anything and change anything for you, but we could make a suggestion back in the form of a resolution and see if it's something everybody can live with.
David, can I just highlight a few things from my report?
Yes, please. I'm sorry, I forgot this.
Okay. I'm not going to read it in full because it's a small research paper, but I wanted to highlight a few things. One in regards to the solar panels, with how they are set back, I think they will largely not be visible from Green Street. So they will not be visible from inside the district. There may be some visibility, I think, on the rear L addition from Robeson Place. But it's the addition, the ADU, all of that is going to be visible from Robeson Place. And that's in part the district's southern boundary, so that is up to the commission to determine the impact of that on that specific view shed. And in regards to the siding, I wanted to highlight the one comment and recommendation I had that was specifically pulled from the criteria for a what's the citation? Too many pages. Additional criteria applicable to historic structures under the criteria for preservation plan approvals. We do have part of the ordinance that specifically references roofing and siding materials that a substitute material that matches the same shape, size of the original siding may be used. And I have the legal citation that I won't read out, but there is allowance for that in the ordinance criteria. Whether the installation of duration fly ash siding on the side elevation meets the conditions of a substitute material that matches the same size and shape of the original siding. And I don't know if you need the actual legal citation, but I have that as well. I don't think so. I think those were kind of this is a recommendation to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. We are not the Board of Jurisdiction. And the rest are more the standard conditions that apply to new structures and additions. Those were just ones I wanted to largely highlight as seemed related to concerns the HPC had. And I just hope you otherwise enjoyed my mini research paper. I hope you otherwise enjoyed my mini research paper in the form of a staff report.
Make any further comments? I don't think there are any members of the public anymore. I think these are for the next application.
I'd just like to make sure that our memo points out that the applicant was diligent about coming in for a concept review. I think that's important because we have a number of applicants that don't take that extra step, and that not only did they come in, but they also revised their application plan considerably after feedback from both the HPC and the neighbors, and that we saw a revised plan that fits very nicely into the neighborhood.
Anybody else? Well, you can tell we're torn.
But Kirsten, I think you said you would use something else. Would you use the boral instead of this if this is the only sticking point?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I mean, what Sarah read out, from what she read out, it seems like the new material is a good substitute for the old material.
That was only in regards to the wood siding, not the trim.
Oh, siding, not the trim, okay. And there's nothing regarding trim?
No, because I surprised her and all of you.
Yeah,
Right, true.
in my report, I only referenced it because the trim as currently proposed is only for the new windows on the sides.
It's for the sides, yeah,
Yeah.
windows on the sides, right.
Which I briefly referenced in my report that the boral trim is for a new fenestration pattern, and the purpose is to match the profile of the windows on the front of the house. So it will stay in the same design.
Yep.
And it's not, as I referenced in another part, the sort of the more character defining features and what gives this house integrity is the form and the shape and the features of the facade, which are remaining intact.
Yeah.
And then secondary elevations are proposed to emulate those, match those. So they won't stick out,
Yes.
which is usually per the Secretary of Interior standards, they are designed to harmonize with the rest of the building and the existing features.
So if that's the only sticking point and she's willing to use boral, then I mean, we could move forward, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
Would you like to make that into a motion, please?
Yes, I don't know how to rephrase it, but I move to approve the revised drawings with the use of the boral material as the framing for the new windows. I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
So just to clarify, the boral is in the drawings currently.
Okay.
These were
yeah.
just brought to the meeting.
Exactly.
So
Okay,
that is
yes.
as proposed.
Okay, so we approve as is without the new material.
Let me just get another pen.
As applied, yeah. Right, as an application. Not this, no.
Yeah. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Julie. Okay. Mr. Shatskin?
Yes.
Ms. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Capozzoli?
Yes.
Ms. Friedman? Is a yes? Ms. Kroll? Ms. Kozevnikova? Chair Scher.
Yes.
All right, vote to approve recommendation to the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Time to go to bed. Thank you for waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. You guys all set? We're just about set? Okay.
Okay, so I can swear you all in at the same time if you're all going to be potentially testifying. Okay, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, all
Thank
right.
you. Good evening, I'm Kevin Wills, and I'm here as the owner's representative for the Dorothea House which has been providing social services and social support network in Princeton for the past 115 or so years. Their mission has been consistent, and the building was built in 1913 and now is in need of repair. So we're coming before you tonight to ask permission to do an exterior restoration to the outside skin, walls, windows, some windows, and roof of the building. My name's Kevin Wilkes. This is Ed Trisselli. He's the executive director of the Dorothea House, and this is our architect. Just to advise, please speak into your microphone. Oh, I'm so sorry. Why don't I sit down? Thank you very much. And this is Julie Kroon, our architect, who works at Clark Caton Hints, and she's going to describe to you what we propose to do.
Good evening, everyone. So the location of Dorothea's house, you may be familiar. It's in the Witherspoon-Jackson Historic District. It's right on the corner of Paul Robeson Place and John Street, the funky intersection. Brief history: it was constructed in 1913, as Kevin mentioned, as a community center for the Italian immigrant community of Princeton in honor of Dorothea Van Dyke McLean, in the Mediterranean Revival style by the well-known firm of Delano and Aldrich. In 1931, there was a small addition put onto the south by famous local architect Ralph Bowen. The only other major changes to the exterior since then were the porches on the backside were enclosed in the 30s and the 50s. But it still retains a high degree of the historic fabric, most of the original features. Project overview, we're doing an exterior renovation only in this phase. Includes repair of existing stairs, replacement of one non-historic stair, repair to the existing clay tile roofing, replacement of flashing in kind, restoration of wood windows at the basement level, several of the exterior doors, and a minor amount of wood trim repair. And then repainting exterior woodwork. For the stucco, we have some patching and crack repair, and then repainting with the mineral silicate paint that currently exists on the stucco. Repair and repointing of the brick and stone foundation. And then there's some site work, including replacement of the asphalt parking lot in the back for drainage and other landscaping I'll go through briefly. So the basement plan, it's really just some minor repairs at the entrances, resetting pavers. Along the parking lot side, we will be installing new window wells that match the existing on the north side. And that's because water is currently draining against this side of the building and causing a lot of damage to those windows. So we are, with the window wells, restoring those windows and adding a sidewalk to grade the asphalt parking away from the building. At the first floor, the main work to the plan is the front stair. There'll be new treads and railing. I'll show that in more detail in a couple slides. And replacing the non-historic stair at the south entrance. Roof plan, we're trying to retain as many of the existing clay tiles as we can, and just repairing where necessary. This time it's estimated about 10% of tiles. And then for the elevations, most of this work I've discussed already, but repointing select areas of the stone foundation. It's not a 100% repoint. And there's some minor areas of the water table stone that needs to be replaced as well. And then for the stucco, as I mentioned, most of the repairs are on that south addition, especially along the bottom where the icing of the sidewalk there has caused the stucco to need repair. There's a few images of some of the work. As you see, like the stone treads are cracked. We're going to replace those in kind with new bluestone. This is an example of one of the window wells. The sill is below, so it's right at grade. We're going to need to restore those basement windows, but we're not replacing any of them. It's just minor repairs, replacing a couple small pieces, mostly scrape and paint, and a little bit of adjustment for hardware and things to make them operable. New weather stripping. And just an example of what one of the roofs looks like. The front door will be repainted, new hardware, so there'll be egress hardware for ADA on these doors. Just an example of one of the downspouts. We actually don't need to replace any of the downspouts, but just reconnecting and reattaching them to the building with new brackets. There is, at the front elevation, one opening that used to have a window grill until very recently. It has disappeared, and we're going to be recreating that. We have enough photo evidence from recently to make a new iron grill there. So one of the main features that needs repair is this front grand staircase. As you could see in the historic photo, it was a little different originally. You could see the treads, and since then it's been built up with concrete parging. We're going to propose to remove that parging, bring it back to the original condition. It does need new bluestone treads. A lot of those are greatly deteriorated. And then the railing, as well as being rusted out and broken in some places, is also not, currently code compliant. So what we're proposing is a new railing that would be at current guardrail height for code, but with the same design and profiles, just at a higher height. And then at the south entry, there's this later addition of a wood stair that's rotted out. We're proposing to replace that with a masonry stair. The original one was brick, so we'd like to put brick at the front facing of it. And then for the railing, we're proposing it would match the railing of the front stair. And we would keep the existing configuration to the side because of the way that the landscaping and planters have been built out since then. And then some select lighting replacement at the exterior for safety and upgrading a few of these old worn out fixtures with a new small spotlights in the existing locations. Site work, I mentioned the main thing is rebuilding this asphalt parking lot in the rear, restriping. We'll be adding an ADA spot, which doesn't currently exist, and there's a new ADA path to the main entrance that they use off the parking lot. Resetting these brick pavers and repointing so that there's a wheelchair accessible entry into the building. And then a few other minor site items, adding the stop sign and stop curb here for safety at that intersection there, installing brick pavers and a new shade tree where the formerly was here. And then just addressing, you just had the comments about supplying the historic treatment program. We will do that once we have the contractor on board. Contractor will submit that, as well as railing shop drawings we can forward to you, keep you in the loop. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, no, this is, it's wonderful to see. I mean, Dorothea's House is just a fantastic institution in town, and I've taken many Italian classes there. So, but your restoration is, I feel like you've covered everything and just really are restoring it appropriately and beautifully. elegantly. So others may have questions, but I really, I don't. So.
I'll just agree with Charlotte and just commend you for going above and beyond what is needed in terms of the restoration of the steps at the front. So it all looks great to me.
It's a beautiful building. So my only little comment is on the lighting. That's the only thing that jumped out at me, sort of like, looking at the lights that you're proposing as replacement. I don't know whether there are sort of maybe nicer alternatives, I guess I'm trying to say, that would kind of like go a little bit better with the building, but that's just kind of my personal opinion. But otherwise, I think it looks beautiful.
Yeah, we're not replacing any of the historic fixtures there, just the later ones, and trying to get enough spread across the parking lot without putting multiple fixtures as well. So
Right.
that's why it's a larger floodlight.
Yeah.
But.
It's just, I feel like, like lately with the lighting, it's been a complete nightmare where, people install these white lights and we just we're flood everywhere with that white light, which is not great. And I also know that we approved sort of like that castle pole at that corner also. So I just wonder, how these things are going to, take away from the building.
Crown Castle pole on that corner on 120.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of that sort of adds up.
That will be on an existing traffic pole there. Yeah, which then I don't know if they got a chance to talk to you guys today, but to coordinate. So that won't add any additional lighting, and then the wattage of the lighting is something we could discuss if that's a concern.
We actually think the new fixtures will provide much less glare in the environment than the existing fixtures, which have no appropriate shielding, other than the staining of 40 years of sitting up there. So really, we're going to actually place the light down on the ground surface, where I think it belongs, instead of just blasting all over the neighborhood. Those old things, we pejoratively call them glare bombs. And what we're really looking for is kind of more like a little theatrical light that actually throws light right down on the surface where people will walk. They didn't have any old-fashioned fixtures that did that, sadly.
My only question is where you're replacing brick. You will be replacing some brick, right?
No, we're just using the new brick for the south stair. Did I pass that?
There you go.
Yeah, new brick at the south stair
So it's
and
new-
for the window wells.
Okay.
And then resetting some existing pavers at one entry.
Okay.
Everywhere else is stone foundation. Yeah, we're not doing anything to the window surrounds that you see in this picture.
And the brick you're using is that kind of terracotta color to match the...
Yeah, it'll be chosen during construction with the contractor, but we'd like to match the existing that's on the building.
So I can go into my comments a little bit again on this. This is kind of a unique project that we don't have a lot of the specific materials because it is in process and will be done over time. But it is being done per the requirements of a New Jersey Historic Trust grant, so they have to adhere to the Secretary of the Interior standards.
Oh,
So
yes.
I will be reviewing it, the Historic Trust will be reviewing it, and I included 2 specific conditions to include with our recommendation for the approval of the administrative waiver, that the applicant include me in pre-construction conferences and mock-up meetings between the applicant and the architect and the Historic Trust. So if there is anything of concern, I can highlight it then. And before the issuance, because part of the trust grant is that they draft, they include the trust and the architect with shop drawings, mock-ups on site of like mortar samples, et cetera, and that they draft a historic what was it, historic treatment plan for the property.
Yes.
And that the other condition is before, as soon as our compliance review, before they get their final certificate of occupancy, that the applicant is to submit the historic treatment plan, any specs, shop drawings for the proposed ironwork, and any other material sample specifications that we don't have now and would not otherwise meet a ordinary repair or replacement in kind condition to my office for review with the chair and I to determine if they need a higher level of review or what level of review is required based on the impact it would have to the district and to the resource.
And we stipulate that we agree to that.
Okay, that sounds great. That sounds great. So it's great to know that we're in good hands. Okay, thank you.
No, it looks like a great project. It's an iconic building in town, and it's going to get better, except for the idiosyncratic Roman numeral, which drives me nuts. But I guess that's part of the charm of the building as well.
I don't really have much to say at all, except it's one of those buildings that you always notice. I always thought it was very elegant in its simplicity and those flourishes of the brick around, which that's pretty high style for the time period and for a small town like Princeton. I mean, Delano and Aldrich coming out here, I mean, a couple big houses out here, but that's pretty fancy stuff. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are taking such a nice and sensitive and appreciative kind of approach to the whole building, and congratulations on the funding, and I don't have anything else. So is this a letter or is this a resolution? What are we?
It's the memo, the recommendation. Yes.
So our memo would say that we're just in support of it? And do we need a roll call vote on that, or?
With the conditions I outlined, yeah, that we're.
Yep. Okay. That's right, those conditions, right, yep.
Okay, so, yeah.
So moved.
I'll second.
And second from Julie. Thank you.
Mr. Shatskin?
Yes.
Ms. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Capizzoli?
Yes.
Ms. Friedman? Ms. Kroll? Ms. Kozebnikova? Chair Scher.
Yes.
Recommendation for administrative waiver is passed.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your patience in the.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate it very much.
Great job. 20 minutes in.
Well done, thank you. Sarah, do we have any other business we need to bring up?
Now?
Then how about a motion to dismiss?
It's a motion to.
So moved. And nobody else is paying attention. Can we have a second from somebody?
Item 10, with mine. Yes, motion. Adjourn. Why is this not working?
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.